Hello everybody, and Jess here, and welcome back to Skeleton Knight in Another World, episode 8, if I'm not mistaken. And I am not, it is indeed episode 8. In the last episode, Ark saved a princess. He didn't stay around for particularly long because he wanted to remain incognito, apparently. But of course, as it is usually the case, his involvement wasn't entirely missed by the princess. She did notice him from behind, sure, and she mistook him for an angel that was sent here by the god. And now, of course, their mission is validated by the god himself because he sends an angel to revive them, and it's a miracle and whatnot. There will be some interesting results from that, from Ark's actions, I can already tell. Ark himself and Ariane got to the capital, at least capital of the region, some big city. I think it is the capital. And they met the Kunoichi girl, the little furry-eared ninja. And now there will be much shenanigans to be had, I'm assuming. Yeah, I think that's essentially the summary of the previous episode. Ark revived the princess and a bunch of her aides. They met the ninja girl, and what happens next? Who knows? We're just gonna have to see. Right, they were also ambushed. Well, not ambushed, they were attacked by those spirit wolves or whatever. And the leader of the spirit wolves also had this mysterious bracelet that I'm assuming grants whoever puts that bracelet there, or whoever, I don't know, made it, or someone, some semblance of control over those creatures, or maybe it just makes them rage. I'm not entirely clear. It's probably the latter. It probably just makes those creatures much more aggressive and much more of a menace. For what purpose? We don't know that yet. That purpose is certainly nefarious, but that's essentially the all we know about the reason. And of course, Ariana was able. Ariane, whatever her name is, I can never remember. Is it Ariana? Is it Ariane? You know who I mean, the elf girl. She managed to grab a few tails from those wolves, and they're gonna be used to make a veil for her sister. Yeah, I think now that really does sum up the previous episode, so we should just get into the current one, shall we? So you get your subs, I get my sound, and yeah, let's not dawdle, let's not dwindle. Let's just start watching episode 8 of Skeleton Knight, version by Subs, please, as per usual. And let's do it in 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, we're going to follow her for a while. Okay, so this episode is told from her perspective, I'm assuming. Where's my mouse? Here it is. I love the chill music with this in the foreground. He smelled of bone. Kemo Mimi. Kemo Mimi. Okay, so there's not a mean bone in Ark's body, forgive the pun. We have full confirmation. He will help you liberate the animal people, the beast folk, I'm assuming. This is a very interesting tea. It's white tea with raspberry and cardamom. Same series that other with jasmine and aloe, apparently. This one's raspberry and cardamom, and it works. Surprisingly, it works. Okay, so now Arak will not only go about liberating the elves, he will also go about liberating the beast folk. Arak the Liberator. I love the little flourish Ark does with his magic. It's so extra and it's so just so nice to see. And I love this. It always gets me, always puts a smile on my face. Konnichiwa, Ark des. Okay, so the whole episode isn't told from her perspective. Just a little bit of a recap. Could you free my people too? Chiyome. Okay. Chiyome of the Jinshin clan. Yeah. Okay, here it goes. Japanese being weird. uh, you put heart, you put blade, you get shinobi. Ariane. Not Ariana, Ariane. Knowledge from the previous world. I guess. Interesting. Okay, at least there is an explanation. She provided it herself, but oh, could that founder be also someone who got isekai'd? Possible. That's a possibility. I always like it when they add like multiple isekai people to the world. That they were isekai in the past or isekai at the same time or something like that. Yeah, all non-humans essentially. It's a staple of the genre really at this point. So why not? What you gonna do, Ark? You're playing hard to get, but we all know that you want to help her. You resurrected the motherfucking princess of the country. There's no way you can remain not notorious. A sense of camaraderie between them because they've been trained and brought up for the same purpose and they have the same goal in life. Okay, yeah, makes perfect sense. And we have a team. Killing some people, breaking some locks, sneaking somewhere. Okay, so the bracelet does allow them to mind control the beasts. And he was behind the attempt at her life. Yep. Elf like individuals, huh? Okay, they aren't after his life, but he's gonna fuck something up so massively that they will eventually be after his life. That's always how it goes. They don't even know who he is, they probably don't even care, but he's gonna put all the spotlight on himself. And now he will be able to rule the way he always wanted to, I'm assuming. An isekai person. Yeah, Japanese. I mean, you could easily do something like that yourself, but you want to stay inconspicuous. Literally, no one stops you from starting a clan of paladins or something and employ elves, beast folk, whoever you want. Okay, sounds simple. Beast folk, beast folk. Corpses, probably. Indeed. Hmm. Ghetto. Just ghetto out of there. Hmm. I love this shot, by the way. Makes sense. Yeah. It's better to save 9 people out of 10 than to save none. Yep. He can blink, he can gate. Everything is ninjutsu to her. Probably also blink and gate. Yeah, just gather everybody inside and have them go through the gate. Just like that, jumping on tops of the trees. Yeah, it's already nightfall. You have like, what, 2-3 hours tops? Yeah, you can't go to fight on an empty stomach. Yeah, exactly. I love how his skull emotes. Asparagus? Man, I can't wait for asparagus to be just a little bit cheaper around here. Fucking love asparagus. Super spicy? That's usually the trope. Or maybe not. Is it something like Ophos? Dragonfly? Oh. Hey, as long as it's good. His helmet is CG in this shot. Hmm. A different mask. True. That's expensive. It is creepy. Yeah. Another beast folk. Who the fuck is drifting outside of my window? Mm-hmm. I'm assuming those are characters from Japanese pop culture. Some manga characters, anime characters. What's his deal? His eyes are completely white, he only grunts? They're just becoming bros. Don't worry. They're just testing each other's strengths. Yeah, exactly. A little bit of rap housing before becoming bros. I'd be pissed if there were bells ringing at night. Yep, they can't exactly sneak around. But they do make a perfect distraction. Couple of huge, burly, bulky dudes just punching their way inside. Boring night, eh? Well, not much longer. A demon! I don't think I will. Let's get conspicuous. I love this line. Ooh, hoo, hoo. Oh, some earthbending. Yeah, just bust through the gates. As conspicuous as you can get. My foot itches. Iron skin? Yep. Of iron. What else? Magic? Use the flashiest one you have. Okay, that's not that flashy. I was expecting a column of light or a column of fire or something. It's just throwing some rocks around. Okay. Something else you got in store? Rock Spear Strike. I'm a sucker for this kind of attack, always. Spikes raising from the ground is my weak spot. More spikes. Hell yeah. Yeah, just, be careful to not kill all of the slaves. Uh, there won't be anybody to rescue soon enough. Uh, CG? Not CG. No, CG. And oh, that's it. That I can't even call it a cliffhanger. It's just a two-parter. Yeah, it just feels like a two-parter. Huh. Interesting. Yeah, 23 minutes in. That's about the time it ended. Doesn't make it any less abrupt. I really feel they should have added just something to that ending, you know? Just for camera to pan upwards, or, some little touch that would make the end less abrupt. Ideally, they'd cut into the ED, and the ED would simply play over what they're doing. The capital in chaos and a maiden's oath. Can't wage war on an empty stomach. Showtime hanging with Ponta. I could not agree more, Ponta, my dude. My girl, I guess. Uh, okay, let's go through it again. Shall we? What else is there left? Full screen, please. Play, play. Stop, pause. And let's go. A little bit of a nice exposition from her perspective, from the perspective of the Kunoichi girl. I like it. I like that she's telling us about all those things in retrospective, instead of her just stating outright, just throwing exposition at us. I much prefer it that they show what she's been up to, that she tells what she's been up to, but it's not just talking heads of her and Ark sitting in in an inn, and her just talking at Ark what she's been up to. I like this approach much better than just plain exposition. And yeah, she's been traveling to recover my Beast People comrades who have been captured by humans. Her purpose, her goal is exactly the same as Ariana's. 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 Yeah, Ariana's. And she met a strange human, not exactly a human. And his scent is different, and his entire presence is different. Question is it because he's a skelly man, or is it because he's a isekai man? Could be either, could be both. And he has a spirit creature. I wonder, I see this dragon, and my first thought is that dragon is gonna become a party member. I'm too deep into isekai ho, honestly, because I've read like a few isekai manga recently, and it's becoming a trope right now, by now, that the dragon becomes a team member. Either in its dragon form or it transforms into a girl, preferably a loli. It's like, it happens so often. Yeah, it really has me wonder if it's actually gonna happen here as well. Maybe not. They've been fairly decent at straying away from tropes so far. I mean, Ponta didn't transform into a loli yet. that speaks tons for how uh, how they don't follow tropes, right? Because if it was any other isekai, Ponta would already be a little lolly girl. Probably the tropey scene of Ark going to sleep with Ponta and waking up with a naked lolly instead. I mean, just how common it is. How common is it? Very common. That's the answer. I like how everybody here is drawn, even the background characters. There isn't much definition to them, but they are all drawn. They are not using CG crowd. Actually, it's interesting that they're kind of doing things backwards, if you catch my drift. The crowds are drawn, they aren't CG. Usually the crowds are CG. The main characters are CG. Usually the main characters aren't CG. Well, they aren't CG always, but often they are. They're trying to do something here. They're trying to do something interesting. I'm not sure it works all that well necessarily, not always, but I appreciate the effort. I appreciate the attempt at experimentation. That maybe instead of creating 100 low res, low quality, low fidelity models for crowd shots and meticulously hand drawing our main characters, we should get a couple of really good CG models for our main characters when they're needed and spend the time saved on hand drawing everything else. A little bit of a shift in where they're placing their time budget, essentially. Certainly an interesting attempt. And I have to give it to them. The CG models they use are genuinely good. They're not, they're not fooling anybody that it's not CG, that it's, oh yeah, it's everything's drawn. Absolutely not. But they're close. They are really, really close. And I can only hope that if there's gonna be other studios, I mean, I'm certain there's gonna be other studios who do CG um, in their works. They're going to ask them for their tech, for their shaders and whatnot, or something, and they will actually just do this quality of CG. Not like Arifureta Season 1 or fucking Overlord. Just, quality CG. I think the best examples of CG that I've seen, if you're curious, seeing something that uses CG sometimes, not always. I'm not talking about shows like Doro Doro or Land of the Lustrous that are entirely CG made, but ones that use CG sparingly but do. Kill la Kill has some genuinely amazing CG uses, especially for the time it was made. You genuinely cannot tell that something is CG or drawn. The movements kind of give it out, but characters in that show already move in such ridiculous ways that it kind of blends in. And another good example, I think would be Yojo Senki. They use CG very sparingly in Yojo Senki, like very sparingly. I think there's literally like 2 or 3 scenes where Tanya and her squadron are CG, but you genuinely cannot tell unless you really focus on it and you go into it with the knowledge that it is CG, that there's gonna be CG, and to expect CG, you're just not gonna notice. And this studio, this anime is really close, but they are ever so slightly off. And yeah, she is a shinobi, as she said. And there is one very simple way uh, to tell if something is CG or drawn. Mm, Colors are colors are slightly different. There's different lighting though, so that's not an indicator. But you can see the lines here on Ark's armor are ever so slightly imperfect, right? They are jagged, they are kind of blurry, they are kind of shaky. The lines cross each other. It almost looks like a sketch. This frame almost looks like a sketch. There wasn't particularly much care put into it, let's be honest. And when you see the CG model, those imperfections aren't there. Also, you can look at Ark's face and see that his eye slits, as he moves, they are kind of warping around and sometimes becoming ever so slightly off model, between those two frames, right? The middle part of his slits here in this shot is narrow, and in this frame it's suddenly super wide, right? It's perfectly visible. So if they either put more budget, more time, and more effort into their 2D art to get rid of those imperfections, or if they somehow emulated those imperfections on their CG model, that would be it. That would be the sweet spot. Use some shader that will blur the black lines ever so slightly. Introduce just the tiniest bit of chromatic aberration on them. Just make them a little bit shaky, you know? When there are those tiny highlights or tiny shadows, just get rid of them. Or maybe just get your rendered CG and just give it a pass manually. You see those tiny little highlights that shouldn't be there in 2D, just paint over them. I think if I had an anime studio, which is a big fucking if, I would certainly utilize CG because, let's be honest, it speeds up the work massively. But I would certainly have everything have a pass like manually. Someone taking the rendered frames and just adding some imperfections, fixing some shadows, fixing some highlights to look more 2D. I think this is the way to go. Yeah, this is the way to go. Just make everything CG and just give it a pass in like hand drawn in 2D. Kind of, I guess, advanced rotoscoping. Kanji for Yaiba plus the one for Kokoro equals Shinobi. To me, it equals Yaiba Kokoro, but Japanese is like that. Japanese just is like that. And yeah, here's a confirmation that the founder was also a Japanese guy. And possibly there were even more people isekai'd from Japan. Oh, always love it when the world has it established that there were multiple visits from Japan. 600 years ago, yep. And of course, she wants help. Because, of course, if elves are treated this way, what makes you think other inhumans aren't? Makes perfect sense. Take it or leave it, but it really does make perfect sense in the context of the world. Of course, he's playing hard to get, that he's currently employed by Ariane, but Ariane won't just leave her be. She knows the struggle. She perfectly knows the struggle and the desire to free her people. So, yeah, exactly. Ariane is a good girl. We have a confirmation that this dude is behind all this slave trade. If it wasn't obvious already, here you have it spelled out. I kinda like it. I kinda like this approach where initially you put a lot of clues that person X is Y, and later on you explicitly confirm that person X is Y. makes the viewers of the show feel smart that they figured it out ahead of the reveal. It's a really nice thing to have in your show. I much prefer it from just spelling it out the first time around, or from keeping things vague for extended periods of time. Vagueness is cool, mystery is cool, but it cannot overstay its welcome. And we have a confirmation that they have control over the ringed creatures. And we have yet another confirmation that he sent the Death Squad after Yuriana. It's already getting hard procuring the merchandise, so to speak. He's running because, of course, he is all, uh, all cowardly princes do run. It's a staple of being a prince. CG carriage, CG horse. I don't quite get what this is about. Initially, it seems to me like Serion or whatever his face is thinking something. Oh, I finally got rid of the prince. Now my plans can come into motion. But he's not looking at his hand and making a fist or any sort of gesture like that. He's looking at some sort of a pendant. Did we see a pendant like that before? I think we did. I think. Oh, where did we see this pendant? It was shown. I remember it. Who had it? Yuriana? Ariane? Ariane's sister? I don't know, but I swear I saw this pendant somewhere. Oh. Of course, the great founder was Hanzo, and he was a human. He was a member of an organization named Overwatch. Yeah, human spy who founded a ninja clan. I'm jealous. My dude, you can literally do the same thing. Like, literally. Just free those beast folk, free those elves, and make yourself a great paladin and start a monastery of paladins. And create new paladins, make people into paladins. And you're gonna have your very own beast folk, and you're gonna have your very own elven uh, students. I mean, dude, if not for the fact that he is so not hard ass, that he's so into being inconspicuous, he'd probably have done it. But he's not really inconspicuous either, and I wonder when is he gonna realize that, yeah, no, people actually take notice of him one way or another. Slave market, of course, largest one. And if there was ever any doubt that this little inconspicuous building is really a slave market, here's the slaves. If you had any doubt, and they are miserable, they're not treated well. Do some of them die? Why, yes, of course they die. Here's the corpses. We have just a full spectrum of confirmations that those people are absolute trash, and that we should help and free the slaves. And now the sun has gone down, and thus my saturation is a little bit high, so let's lower it slightly. It will be hard to escape, but not with the help of Arxgetu. Don't think everyone involved in the attack will be able to escape. Makes sense. Again, it's better to rescue 9 people out of 10 than to rescue none out of 10. And yeah, bring attention to one of the places so that guards from all the other slave markets rush to help them, and those others can be infiltrated much easier. Perfect plan, honestly. Well, maybe not entirely perfect, but very sound. That's for sure. Very, very sound as far as plans in isekais usually go. Apparently, the great founder had space-time ninjutsu. He probably had a spell from the game that allowed him to move to a place he was. He had just a gate spell, but he called it ninjutsu because he was role-playing a ninja. I'm willing to bet. It was just a weeb cosplaying a ninja. And yeah, you'll be able to save everybody. Preparation, food is important. I'm just gonna screenshot it. I love how Ark's skull emotes. It's such a tiny little detail, but adds just a little bit of humor to the show. I love it. Bounty of the sea and the mountains. And also when he drinks beer, it just flows all across his face. That looks appetizing, not gonna lie. Crispy mushroom-like flavor. Oh, that sounds amazing. I'm a sucker for mushrooms. That's another thing I'm a sucker for, apparently. Fucking love foraging for mushrooms, and I fucking love eating foraged mushrooms. When they're dried and then rehydrated, that's when they're the best. You make a sauce out of them, you put them in a chicken soup, you put them in hunter stew, you put them everywhere, and they are amazing. You put them in some vinegar, and pickled wild mushrooms are the absolute best. There is no comparison to champignons and other commercially grown mushrooms. Wild mushrooms are the best. Crispy texture and mushroom-like flavor. That reminds me of like moon mushrooms, or what's the mushroom that's so rare around here but so amazing? Tragopogon. No, that's not it. That's not the mushroom. I wanted the mushroom. Um. Okay, no, that's a flower. Okay, I think I remember another name for uh for this mushroom, and Sparasis crispa. That's apparently its Latin name, and in English, the is there no English translation for this Wikipedia article? That's interesting. Well, I guess you can look up Sparasis crispa because it's an amazing mushroom. I think it's not under the threat of extinction, but it's like fairly rare, so it has some level of protection. Does it? Yeah, it's edible. Boiled slowly with salt. No, it's not endangered. Sparasis crispa. Morphology. It's rare. It's on a red list or something, and it's potentially endangered. But it's very common in Poland. It's endangered everywhere in Europe besides Poland, which is weird because I guess it's not that weird. People usually don't pick mushrooms that look weird to them, and this one definitely does look weird. Okay, I went on a little bit of a tangent here. Also, I tried growing shiitake at home. I ordered like a block with the spores and whatnot, and you just water it and you grow your own shiitake. Can recommend. They're great. Okay, that's the end of my tangent. Let's go forward with the anime. Dragonfly, apparently. It is indeed tasty. I'm with Ark here. If I eat something and it tastes good, I don't care what it is. You tell me it's offals, well, guess I like offals now. I like offals. Mostly offal soup. Offal soup is great. But yeah, you give me something I like it, well, I like whatever it's made out of. It's a cockroach milk. Well, apparently I like cockroach milk now. What can I do? It just tastes nice. Hmm. Kind of an odd choice that they decided to show us the CG helmet here and not draw it. I don't know. A mask, and thus a legend of a masked barbarian mage, evil demon lord of darkness will be born. I can bet. And that's how the existence of Ark alone will spark like three parallel legends. There's gonna be the legend of Ark, the one who saved the village, who hunted the basilisk and whatnot. There will be the legend of the angel that came to rescue the princess, and there's going to be a legend of a demon that came to wreak havoc in the slave trade camp, whatever. I like it. Reminds me of actually many series, many series go for something like that. Many just even isekais. The uh, Mao Sama Retry, I think, went for something like that. There was yet another isekai that also had the main character be himself and then take a uh, like dress up and be a hero. There was Death March. That's another isekai that has this trope. Uh, we can't forget about Overlord and Ainz's characters of Momonga and of mm, of Momonga and Ainz, because he's Momonga the sword master, the warrior, and his Ainz the masked magician, and his Ainz Ulgaun the himself. I like it. I like this trope. I don't mind it. Goemon? Okay, now I'm actually curious. Who the fuck is Goemon? Goemon. Goemon's Great Adventure. Okay, it is Ishikawa Goemon, legendary Japanese outlaw hero who stole gold and other valuables to give to the poor. Essentially, Japanese Robin Hood. Okay. And Chiyome. Mochizuki Chiyome, Japanese ninja. Yeah. 16th century Japanese poet and noblewoman. And she's known for creating a group of kunoichi in service of the Takeda clan. And of course, she is also a character in Fate. Why does it not surprise me? Fate Grand Order, Type Moon, of course. Of historical figure that isn't a part of Fate's series challenge. Impossible. Yep, Mochizuki Chiyome, Ishikawa Goemon. And very much possible that the others will also have other names. A little bit of rough housing to figure out each other's strength, and yeah, ho, you're pretty good yourself. Ha 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 ha, we're bros now. I like it. I really like this dynamic between them. Other teams are ready. This dude on the left has eyes like Neko Arc, and I can't unsee it. I can't unsee this dude just being Neko arc, like 3 Neko arcs stacked on top of each other, pretending to be a ninja. Yeah, distraction. Just walking menacingly. Let's get conspicuous. I love this line. Muscle to stone, wall smasher. I honestly can see the utility in that. In those like shoulder spikes. They offer you no protection because the rest of you is exposed. They don't really offer you any like fighting improvement capability unless you're just gonna ram someone with your arm, with your shoulder. I guess he did just ram through it with his shoulder. I guess that's literally what just happened. They're getting even more conspicuous now. Yeah, when he said that if we need flashy magic to draw the enemy's attention, I really thought he's gonna go for something more flashy, like a thunder from the sky, or a column of fire raising from the ground, or something along those lines, not just throwing some rocks. That's like the least flashy spell, the least flashy attack I can come up with. You ask me what would be the least flashy magic, I say throw a rock. Now he's getting attention. Just laughing and walking menacingly. I love it. He's channeling his inner Ainz. Spikes from underground, more spikes from underground, and yeah, somehow they interfered with each other. And everything is covered in rock spikes. CG team, roll out. Again, this was a very, very, very abrupt ending, wasn't it? Like, there wasn't even any music on top. Nothing. They're just running towards the doors. You anticipate that they're going to go through those doors because that's, I mean, the logical conclusion that that's what's gonna happen. But they don't. They just don't. The episode just ends. There isn't even the usual pan upwards or tilt or whatever the movement is called, where you take the camera and swing it this way. I had a whole cheat sheet calling with names of what what this camera movement is, what this is, what this is, this movement. Right? They usually do this, pan upwards, and that's where it ends. Or there's some growing music or something, but no, it just boom. Next frame, it's just end. They're not even through the door. Yeah. It just ends incredibly abruptly. Or another thing they could have done is still continue through the ED. Have the ED music sound, have the credits roll somewhere to the side, but show what's going on inside. Show them just walk around and infiltrate, right? And have it end on them finding the cells, for example. They find the cells, and there's shock on their face. So many of them, and there's corpses and whatnot. Cut there. Something along those lines. Now, of course, this little misstep didn't spoil me the entire episode or anything of the sort. I still very much enjoyed it, but it could have been done better. Let's be honest here, it really could have been done better. And that's it. We now just have to wait for the next episode to come. to see what's going to happen. And I think I can already make a an educated guess at what's going to happen. They're going to free the beast folk. That wasn't hard, was it? Hmm. They're going to free the beast folk. They might discover that the crown prince is involved in it somehow. Maybe some documents laying somewhere or something. Wouldn't surprise me if that was the quote unquote collateral of their little excursion. And besides that, they're just gonna free them, and that's going to be the episode, I'm assuming. What was the title of the next episode? Let me look it up real quick again. The Capital in Chaos and a Maiden's Oath. The Capital in Chaos clearly signifies that, well, the capital will be in chaos because all of the slave markets are under the capital, are operating under the capital. So when they are attacked, of course, the capital guards and military and whatnot will scramble to help them because, of course, so there will be chaos. Okay, it won't be a quiet operation. That's another thing we can infer from the title. And a Maiden's Oath, uh, it's a trope that ninja always swear an oath to someone that, oh, I'm going to follow you forever, I'm going to be your personal ninja, I will repay the debt by serving you. And wouldn't surprise me if that was the Maiden's Oath exactly. That she's just going to swear her allegiance to Ark. Which means they will probably save the Beast Folk. And she will probably swear her allegiance so that they can travel around the world, and save all Beast Folk in need. Because I highly doubt that slave trade is limited to just the capital. Sure, the capital essentially sanctions it, or not sanctions, but like allows for it to happen through the crown prince. But there are certainly other big cities that do their own fair share of slave trading, and probably other countries as well. Let's be honest here. It most probably isn't an isolated incident in just one singular country. It can't be. It would be way too odd, way too unusual, you know? As weird as it feels to say it, but it would be unusual for just one of the countries to be absolute scumbags, to have scumbags at the top. It's probably a running theme. But yeah, I think that's gonna be it from me. So, you guys, you let me know down in the comments what did you think of this episode of my reaction, of my theories, if I had any. I don't know, I didn't note anything down, but maybe I said something interesting about the future, and you have your very own thoughts on that matter. Share that in the comments or on my Discord server, which you can join right up here from that link. Just keep it spoiler free. Again, if you're on Discord, you can just use spoiler tags, but there are no spoiler tags on YouTube, so you can't exactly spoiler your messages. So keep it out of here, if I may ask you. Like this video if you liked it, dislike it if you disliked it, but tell me why so I can improve. Subscribe to the channel to be notified of future releases, not only Skeleton Knight, but also Tate no Yusha no Nariagari Shield Hero Season 2. Today's episode was actually genuinely great, so if you were on the verge of maybe watching, maybe not watching, it's worth it. Today's episode was genuinely good. Other shows are also Shokei Shoujo Virgin Road, Symphogear G, Revue Starlight, and Spy X Family. So if you're interested in any of those, subscribe, click the bell, and get notified. If you want to watch non-seasonal shows like Symphogear and Revue Starlight 1 week early or more, you can support me on Patreon, and for $10 you will get early access to those shows, and for just $1 you get access to a role on my Discord server, and that gives you access to a Patreon-only channel, and of course, you also, no matter your contribution, get to be in the credits. What else? I think that's it. I think I showed what I had to show. No, one more thing. If you want to support me, but not necessarily do it monetarily, you don't have to spend a single dime, because you can just share my videos, share my channel, spread the word about its existence, and get me more viewers. Because if the word spreads through the grapevine that I'm making content that some people might like, they will check out my content, and the discoverability that way is much higher than just relying on YouTube alone. So I would be much obliged if you were to share what I make. And now that's really gonna be it from me for today. So as always, you guys do all the good stuff, and I'm gonna see you in the next one. Cheers! And here's the credits that I mentioned. The list grows steadily, and you can help expand it.